Today we are going to start with a study of morphology, anatomy and reproduction in the cycas. When we talk about the classification of this genus, it belongs to the class Cycadopsida, order Cycadales, family Cycadaceae and genus Cycas. And in India, we find Cycas revoluta, Cycas bedomi, Cycas sarcinalis and Cycas rumphi are most of the common species which were found in India. It is widely distributed in the tropical and subtropical region of the eastern hemisphere of the world. The growth is very slow and it is evergreen and xerophytic in nature. The particular plant body of this cycas is known as the sporophytic plant body, and this sporophyte can be differentiated into root, stem and the leaves. Here you can observe all these pinnately compound leaves are there. Below that there is a columnar stem which can be surrounded by the crown of these pinnately compound leaves. This is the typical structure of the plant, where we can find the roots are of basically two types. They are taproot system, and along with that we can find there is the presence of corolite type of the roots. These two types of the root, the primary root persists and forms the basically taproot system, and lateral roots which may rise branches repeatedly to form a dichotomously. Here you can observe that dichotomously branched coral-like roots, and because of that it is known as the corolite roots. These cortical region of the corolite roots, here you can observe that in cortical region we can find there is a content of the blue-green alga, the Anabaena species, which helps in the nitrogen fixation for the plant. When we talk about the stem is mostly columnar, a column-like structure, and it is unbranched and the woody structure. It is mostly covered with the persistent, permanent woody leaf bases, and the stem bears adventitious buds at the base. When we talk about the leaf in the genus Cycas, there are basically two types of the leaves are there, scaly leaves and the foliage leaves. Here you can observe that these are the scaly leaves and these are the foliage leaves. Here also this is the columnar stem and it is surrounded by the scaly leaves, and these are the foliage leaves where you can find these are the pinnately compound leaves are there. These are the leaflets. It is a midvein, midrib of that, and it is the rachis. So here you can observe the foliage and the scaly leaves are present in the cycas. Here you can observe that this is the top of the stem where you can find the crown of leaves can be developed. Each leaf has around 80 to 20 pairs of sessile leaflets, and the apex is acute or it may become spiny. The leaflets has a single midvein and lateral veins are almost absent in the leaf. The circinate vernation is present and the young leaves are curved with the ramenta. At the younger stage, it becomes a spirally curved nature of the leaf tips. Scaly leaves, these are normally brown in color and they are very small, mostly triangular, and remain attached to the stem surface. So they are persistent with the protective function of these scaly leaves is there. When we discuss the transfer section of the root, there are basically, it can be divided into three zones. It is the outermost, that is the epiblema, or we can say epidermis. Then second zone is the cortical zone, cortex, and the third is the conducting zone, that is the vascular region. So this epiblema is nothing but the outermost layer, and which is made of the normally single layered parenchymatous cells. These are followed by the thin layer parenchymatous cortex, and this cortex is delimited by the single layered endodermis. The multi-layered parenchymatous pericycle is present in the surrounding to the vascular tissue inside. Normally the endodermis is single layered, and along with that the pericycle is also single layered, but here in cycas we can observe that the parenchymatous pericycle is the multi-layered structure. The xylem is diarch in young root and the tetrarch in the older roots. Secondary growth is also present because the plant is perennial. Corolite roots which shows a similar structure, but the middle cortex characterized by the presence of Anabina algae. Xylem is normally triac or exarch in the condition. Here in diagram we can discuss that. Here you can find this is the normal root where we can say the taproot system is there. The outermost zone is the single layered epiblema. It is maybe covered with the cuticle and the small hairs can be present. So this is the epidermis or the epiblema. This zone is the single layered hypodermis is present, and the cortical zone which can ends with the endodermis. So this is all the cortical zone. Now here endodermis and the multi-layer pericycle can be observed here. Here you can observe the diarch condition at the younger stage, whereas the tetrarch condition in the older stems. Central sclerenchymatous cells, which are known as the metaxylem cells, which are water conducting, and the younger elements we can call them as the protoxylem elements. So these are the vascular elements present inside the endodermis. And this is the structure of coralloid root, where you can find this is the outermost layer epiblema or epidermis, the outer cortex, and in middle zone we can find there is the presence of this algal zone, which is known as the Anabina species of the algae. So it is for the purpose of the fixation of the nitrogen from the atmosphere. So this algae helps in the fixation of nitrogen. At the center we can find this blue line is the endodermis. Multi-layered parenchymatous pericycle can be there. Here we can find the triarch to tetrarch, diarch to tetrarch condition of the vascular element is there. And here you can find the metaxylem element. These are the protoxylem elements, and these are the patches of the phloem. So this is the normal root condition can be observed in the cycas. When we talk about the anatomy of the stem, it is slightly different. A cross-section of young stem is irregular in outline due to the presence of persistent leaf bases. It may be the scaly leaves or it may be the regular foliage leaves, where you can find these are the persistent in nature and they are still attached to the stem. So the outer layer of the stem is the armor of leaf bases, which helps in the protecting the stem part. It is differentiated into epidermis, cortex, and vascular, as we discussed in the root. It resembles the structure of dicot-like stem. Here you can find the central zone after epidermis, hypodermis, cortex is there. Here these are the vascular bundles, zone of vascular elements, and in the center we can find there is the pith is present. In outer cortex we can find there is the presence of the mucilage ducts in the stem. Here you can find when we discuss the layer by layer structures, the epidermis is the outermost layer and it's covered with the thick cuticle. It is discontinuous due to the presence of leaf bases. These are the persistent leaf bases. It may be scaly or the foliage leaves, but because of that, it can be discontinuous at many portions. The cortex consists of major part and it is made up of the thin-walled parenchymatous cells. The cells are filled with starch grains, and cortex also possesses several mucilage ducts and the tannin cells. Here we observe that here you can observe it is mucilage duct and the tannin cells can be present, and at the center there is the vascular elements. Here you can observe that this is the cortical zone where phloem is there. This is the cambial tissue. These are the metaxylem larger elements. This is the xylem parenchyma which is surrounded by that, and these are the protoxylem elements and phloem of the first ring. So it can be, because the plant is perennial, we can find the multiple layers of the zone, multiple layers of the rings. So here it is the one ring we have shown where phloem is outer side, cambium is there, and these are the metaxylem elements, metaxylem and protoxylem element. This is the phloem of the first ring. So it is the continuous process. The vascular bundles are conjoined collateral. They are basically endarch type of vascular bundles and they are open. Xylem is made up of the trachea and the phloem consists of the sieve tubes and the phloem parenchyma. So here you can observe the phloem and phloem parenchyma. Here phloem of the first ring. This is the xylem parenchyma and this is the metaxylem and protoxylem elements are present there. The cambium present in the vascular bundle is the active zone. This cambium zone is the active always, and it is active for the short period because perennial plants are there. The secondary cambium can be formed from the pericycle or cortex and helps the secondary growth in the stem. So secondary growth is the perennial character for this particular Cycas genus, and the cortical zone, cortical region shows the large number of leaf traces. The presence of direct leaf traces or the girdling leaf traces is the unique feature of the Cycas stem. So secondary growth is a result in the because the persistent leaf bases are there, and because of that the phellogen tissue is also developed to protect the epidermis, and normally it is replaced by the phellogen. The wood form belong to it is the monozylic type of the wood can be developed here. When we talk about the anatomy of rachis, leaf and the rachis, so here we have shown the TS of the rachis. Here you can find the outermost layer, the epidermis layer. It is followed by the hypodermis, which may be thick sclerenchymatous cells, and it is a multi-layered and present on the adaxial side, where and many layered in the abaxial side. The ground tissue is the parenchymatous. So all the tissue, ground tissue, we know it as a parenchymatous zones are there. So these are the parenchymatous cells. Here you can find a typical vascular bundle has been arranged here. So it is inverted omega shape pattern of the vascular bundle. Here you can clearly observe in the diagrammatic diagram, it is the inverted omega. Omega's sign तुम्ही बघितलेला physics मध्ये. So it is the inverted omega type shape of the vascular bundle can be observed in the rachis TS. Each vascular bundle is covered by a single layered sclerenchymatous bundle sheath, and the single layered endodermis and the few layered pericycle also surrounds the vascular bundles inside. This diplozylic condition is present in the vascular bundle. These vascular bundles are considered as a collateral, endark, and open type of the vascular bundles. So these collateral vascular bundles can be observed in the rachis. TS of the leaflet. Here you can observe that TS also a typical shaped. The epidermal cells are thick walled and they are covered with the thick cuticle. Here all the green line can show which is the thick cuticle which is formed there. So here the lower epidermis is not continuous as it is interrupted by the sunken stomata. This is the lower epidermis, and here on the lower epidermis it is not the continuous because of the presence of stomatas. Sunken type of the stomatas are there on the lower surface. So this particular hypodermis consists of the sclerenchymatous cells to prevent the transpiration. So this is all structure which is the sclerenchymatous zone is there, and this sclerenchymatous zone which differentiated with the sclerenchymatous cells to prevent the transpiration of water. The mesophyll is differentiated into the palisade cells. So this is all dotted lines here you can observe. These are the palisade zone. Palisade parenchyma is there, and this is a spongy parenchyma type there, and inside that there are the chlorophyll pigments are present. The cells of this layer are involved in the photosynthesis, and the spongy parenchyma present in the close proximity to the lower epidermis, which exchanges the gaseous exchange for the plant. Normally, the layers of colorless elongated cells which run parallel to the leaf surface to form the midrib to the margin. Leaflets, here we can observe that. Here it is a complete palisade zone, and this is the particular portion we can say the lower epidermis is there. So this constitutes the transfusion tissue and helps in the lateral conduction of the water. The vascular bundles has xylem facing upper epidermis. Here you can observe that this is the xylem portion which can be facing the upper epidermis, and the protoxylem occupies the center. At the center, this is the protoxylem elements, and hence the bundle is the Mizar type of the vascular bundle. Here you can observe the Mizar type of the vascular bundle has the sclerenchymatous bundle sheath. So this is the peculiarity of this particular leaflet of the cycas. When we talk about the reproduction in the cycas, this can be reproduced by two ways. There is the vegetative reproduction as well as the sexual reproduction. When we talk about the vegetative reproduction, here it can be taken place with the help of the adventitious birds, or we can say the bulbils. So these are adventitious birds normally present at the base of the cycas stem. And so this helps in the regeneration of the new plants from these bulbils or the adventitious birds. Here you can observe these are the bulbils which can germinate into a new plant. When we talk about the sexual reproduction, here the cycas is dioecious plant. Male and female cones are produced in the separate plants, and it is the heterosporous in nature and produces two types of the spores, microspores and the megaspores. Here it is the male plant, we can say male cones are there. Here you can find that these are the microsporophylls which are compressly organized spirally arranged on the male cone. So this male cone is, or the staminate cone we can call it as a, and are borne singly on the terminal part of the stem. Here you can find the columnar stem, and at the end we can observe that these are the male cones can be developed. So here you can observe that it is the terminal part of that particular stem. The growth of the stem is continued by the formation of axillary buds at the base of the cones. त्याच्या बाजूला axillary buds ह्या सुद्धा slightly develop होत असतात. The male cone is the displaced due to the one side showing the sympodial growth in the stem. So sympodial growth is the typical character of these cycads, where you can find the terminal portion is made up with the male cone, and this can be displaced towards the one side, and it's shown the sympodial type of the growth, so that the apical meristem continues to grow in terms of the it may be axillary buds or the other buds. So it is a slight movement of the male cone towards the one side. So this is the displacement of the male cone, and because of that these male cones are the stalked, compact, oval or conical and woody in nature or woody in structure. It consists of the several microsporophylls. Here you can observe the various types of the microsporophylls we have shown. So these from the different species, of course, consist of the microsporophylls which are arranged spirally. Here you can observe that the arrangement of these microsporophylls on cone is the spiral arrangement, and they are on the central cone of the axis. So these are the basically terminal male cones. Here you can observe that development of the adventitious buds at the base. Here these are the microsporophylls from the different species, but these are mostly the conical in shape. Microsporophylls are mostly flat leaf-like structures. Micro means where the microspores are going to be developed. Sporo means the spores, and phylls means the leaf-like structures. So these are the microsporophylls. These are normally a flat leaf-like structures, normally woody structures, and narrow base and the expanded upper portion. Here you can observe that typical structure. Here it is the narrow base of that, and here it is the expanded portion. So it is the microsporophyll. The upper expanded portion becomes the pointed at the end, and it is called the apophysis. Here a cap-like structure is there. Here you can call it as a apophysis. The narrow base is attached. Here you can find that the narrow base is attached to the cone of the axis. This portion is nothing but the point of connection, and it is attached to the axis. Each microsporophyll contains thousands of the microspores. They are in the group of microsporangia and called the abaxial or the lower surface. So it is in the form of sori. We can find the microsporophylls are larger in numbers. Now these are the female plants where we can find there is the development of the megasporophylls. But megasporophylls are they are not organized in the male cone-like structures. They occur in the closed spiral around the tip and the stem of the female plant. Now this is the female plant, and here we doesn't find any a cone-like structure, but on the axis they are spirally arranged megasporophylls can be observed. Each megasporophyll is differentiated into a basal stalk-like structure. Here you can observe the basal stalk of that and the upper leaf-like portion. Okay? So this is the megasporophyll. These megasporophylls are normally flat and measures about the 15 to 30 centimeters in the length. So the ovules are mostly flat. Here you can observe these are the ovules, or we can say the mega spores developed on the megasporophylls. These are attached to the lateral side of the sporophyll. These are the lateral sides of the sporophyll, and the ovules contain the megaspore, and it represent the female gametophyte in the cycas. Here you can observe the diagram of that, a typical structure of the cycas ovule, where it can be differentiated into outer, middle, and the inner layer. There is the opening, which is known as the micropylar end. At the center, it is a typical ovule where we can find the archegonial chamber, or we can say the pollen chamber where pollens can be deposited. And this is the archegonial structure where we can find the nucellus and the endosperm like tissue. So this is the structure of ovule in the cycas. So here you can observe that the typical structure of the cycas ovule. These are nothing but the three layers, outer, middle, and the inner layer of the ovule, and inside that we can find the female gametophyte, and at the center there is the megaspore along with the three nuclei. Here you can find from where it is the micropylar end. From this micropylar end, the pollen tube can insert inside, and this is known as the pollen chamber now. The ovules are normally orthotropous. They are unitegmic and possesses a very short stalk. A single integument is very thick, which normally covers the ovule and leaving a small opening at the end known as the micropylar opening. The integuments consist normally of three layers, outer, middle, and inner layer. And the middle layer is mostly the stony, and it is called the sarcostesta. So middle layer, so it is a darker in color, and it is known as sarcostesta. So the inner layer remains fused with the nucellus tissue, and the nucellus grows into a beak-like structures, and the upper part dissolves and forms a cavity-like structure called the pollen chamber. Here you can observe that this pollen chamber is there. Then a single megaspore or megaspore mother cell undergoes the meiosis to form the haploid megaspores. Here, this is the typical megasporophyll where we can observe these are the ovules are there, and here you can find there is the slight development megasporophylls and the ovule structure. But how the development is taken place, that we can observe here. These are the four haploid megaspore where the lowermost becomes the functional and the others get degenerated. In last diagram, we have observed that these are the four cell structure where the lowermost can function as a megaspore, and these three cells get degenerated later on. The nucellus get reduced to form a thin paper-like structure, and in mature, it encloses the female gametophyte. It is an enlarged megaspore or the embryo sac which is present within the nucellus. So here you can observe that the nucellus structure is there, and the archegonial chamber with 3 to 6 the archegonia present, and the archegonial chamber below the pollen chamber is there. So here it is the archegonial chamber, and this is the pollen chamber can be observed in the ovule. Now, when we talk about the pollination and fertilization, the pollination is mostly carried out by the wind, because in the number of microspores are too large, and at the same time each microspore can bear the wing-like structure, so they can float on the air. So it is mostly the wind pollinated and can be occurs at the 3-cell stage. The pollen grains get locked into the pollen chamber after the pollination, and from there is the development of pollen tube can be taken place. The generative cells divided into a stalk and the body cell. The body cell divides to produce two large multiciliated antherozoids or the sperms, and during the fertilization one of the male gamete is multiciliated antheroid fuses with the egg cell, and thus the archegonium form to form a diploid zygote. Thus the fusion has been taken place here. So you can imagine that how much period it can taken place for the fertilization purpose. Once the deposition of the pollen grain or the microspore is taken place in the pollen chamber, it may take 4 to 6 months to fertilize the ovule. So overall process is quite slow process, and the germination of this particular ovules is then hypogeal type of the germination can be observed, and the life cycle shows normally the alternation of generation. Here you can find the life cycle of the cycas plant. Normally cycas having male plant and the female plant. So cycas male plant produces the male cones and cycas female plant produces the female strobulus. Here you can observe that these are both are the sporophytic plant bodies. So here this stage can be considered as the sporophytic generation, and where there is the gamete formation is there is the gametophytic generation. So here you can find all the structures are diploid in nature. So cycas male cone and the cycas female strobulus, because cones are not developed here, so it is called the strobulus. They can gives rise to the microsporangium, and this microsporangium gives rise to the microspore mother cell. So up to this level they are diploid in nature. Then the meiosis is taken place, and after meiosis from diploid cell to 4 haploid microspores can be generated. Here also in the female strobulus, from female strobulus there is the megasporangium, and in megasporangium we can find there is the megaspore mother cell which is still in the diploid stage. After that meiosis is taken place, and after meiosis we can find that there are the 4 haploid cells has been developed, out of which 3 get degenerated and only one, the lowermost cell, can be modified into a megaspore. Now these are the haploid in nature. Now these microspores gives rise to the antherozoids, and these antherozoids produces 2 male nuclei, and they can go for the fertilization. Here megaspores, they can produces or modifies into a development into the embryo sac, and in embryo sac there is the development of or presence of the egg cell. With this egg cell the male nuclei gets fuses, and here you can find the fusion is taken place. So this fusion is known as the syngamy, and after the syngamy we can find there is the diploid oospore is being developed. From this oospore there is the development of the diploid embryo, and this embryo after development maturation gives rise into a seed-like structure which can germinate epigely, germinate to gives rise the cycas male or female plant. So this is all about the life cycle of cycas.